This is John Abrams, and this is The Variety Artist, episode 65.
Welcome to The Variety Artist, providing aspiring artists and entertainers with in-depth discussions from top performers from all over the world. So get ready to book some gigs, make some money, and have some fun with your host, John Abrams.
My guest today was nominated for Entertainer of the Year 2015 from Campus Activities Magazine. Other nominations include Best Variety Performer 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, Fastest Rising Star 2010 and 2012, and Best Male Performer 2011 and 2012. He also stars in Summoning Spirits, described as a magic show meets seance that will make you scream. Penn Teller called his performance beautiful. Variety Artist, I give you Peter Boie.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here, John.
How's it going, Peter?
I'm doing wonderful, I found a lost dog on my road today, so I spent an hour and a half trying to find its owner.
Oh, no. Did you find his owner?
I did, yes.
Okay, we're swapping dog stories. Okay, so the other day, I'm hiking with my dog, and people that listen to this podcast on a regular basis, they know that I have a blind dog.
Oh, wow.
So we're hiking, and right when we're hiking, it's all dry except for this one little spot where there's this kind of like scummy river thing dumping into this scummy looking pond thing. And the way the cement is, it slants into the pond. So I look away for 1 second, and my dog falls into the slimy pond.
Oh, no.
It's true. I jump in after him. And so, I grab him, I pull him out of the slimy pond, and I get out, and I'm soaking wet, and I have scum and slime all over my body as I came out of it. Ugh.
That's a much more terrible story than what I have. I just walked around to my neighbors knocking on doors.
So tell me your name. Let's start with your name. Peter
Sure.
Boie, B-O-I-E.
It is French, tu parles français?
Un petit peu.
That's all I got. I learned that one phrase. I've actually said that to actual French people before, and they start talking to me in French because I've gotten actually pretty good at that, like one sentence. I think somewhere along the line, actually I have some living relatives possibly still in Canada. So I wasn't from there. I'm from the US, but that's kind of where my background comes from.
Right. Well, I was watching your vlog. By the way, Peter's vlog is awesome. It's really fun. And one of the ones I was watching showed your very first show.
Oh my God. Yeah, I still can't believe I put that out there on the internet. That was a bold move on my part, and I'm a little embarrassed that you watched that.
Well, it's great. And in fairness to Peter, anybody listening to this who watches his vlog, you got to watch his current stuff because his current stuff is amazing. But then go back and watch that first show. I wish I had my first show on tape.
Oh man, that was I was going through old VHS tapes, and I found that, and I watched it, and it was I couldn't even watch it. That was the hardest video to edit, because I had to watch the entire performance and pick the things I was least embarrassed about. It is what it is, I guess. It's me, 16 years old, doing silk magic and doves.
Oh, those are great. Those are great. And on that vlog also, you talk about the Topsom, Maine library.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's where I got my first magic book and started out learning card tricks. Me and my cousin used to go to the library and take out all the magic books and learn everything. It was in an old house. It was just a tiny little town, Topsom, Maine. It wasn't even a proper building when I when I grew up. It was each room. You'd go to each room, and the floors were slanted, and they had a few magic books right next to the paper airplanes, because I was into paper airplanes and drawing characters and stuff, and that hobby section, 793.8 to be exact. I got that drilled into my memory.
If anybody wants to know where the magic books are, what is it?
793.8 in the Dewey Decimal System. I've done a lot of library shows in my past too, so I always have to plug that number. Yeah, that's where I got my start. Magic books out of a library.
I think a lot of people did. I used to go to the Gardena Library, which was at the time my local library, and that's how I kind of got my start in my career. Someone had seen me check out magic library books, the librarian did, and she said, "Oh, our entertainer is sick. I see you're checking out a lot of magic books. Are you a magician?" I said, "Well, yes, of course I am." "Would you like to perform next Wednesday," or whatever it was? And I said, "Well, of course I would."
When you're under the gun, pressure is the greatest motivator.
Now, I loved all your editing with your vlogs. Where did you learn to edit?
YouTube, I guess. I just watching other YouTubers, and I just kind of tried to do what they did. I think I've never taken any classes on it, but I edit in Final Cut Pro 10, and I feel like I've always had a decent eye. When I run into a technical issue, you go right to YouTube, and all of a sudden you have an answer to how you can do what you think you can do, and then the more you do it, the better you get at it, the quicker you get to.
Did you find that when you were doing the vlog, it increased your business?
No.
No. So why do it?
Yeah, it was YouTube stardom dreams. That's what it was. You see all these people on YouTube getting millions of views, and you're like, I can do that. And maybe I could have if I kept with it for long enough.
Now, one of the things that I saw on, I'm pretty sure it was one of your vlogs, and I want everybody that's listening to this to do this. It's called the Super Troopers game. So tell us about the Super Troopers game.
Oh, so that scene in Super Troopers where they're going up to a car they pull over, and the challenge is the troopers, they need to say meow to these people in the car as many times as they can without breaking. I kind of twisted it a little bit, and before my show, I put out, about a half hour before one of my shows, I put out on Facebook and Twitter, I'm playing the Super Trooper game. Give me a phrase or word I have to work into my show, and I'll try to see how many I can work in throughout my entire show. Yeah. And I got, I don't know, 20 suggestions, just crazy things that just make no sense.
Yeah.
And so I worked in as many as I could. I think I don't know what I got. Do you remember? I got about 10 or so, 9 or 10.
Yeah, there's quite a few. My favorite one was something about my fat ran away or something like that. Wasn't it something like that?
Oh, I'd have to rewatch it. Yeah. But there was a couple that I would say I did extremely well and just was like the perfect example of how the game should be played. And then the rest were just kind of like squashing, trying to fit a round peg into a square hole or whatever that's saying.
You may think that's kind of a silly game, but I think it's great. It's going to keep your show fresh, and you have to constantly kind of think in your head what's going on, all these different phrases as you're working with your volunteers and things.
Oh, it was great. I was in that show 100 billion%. The biggest problem is remembering what phrase comes next or what you have to say next. So I put it in a notes app, and I kept looking at my phone, so that was kind of unprofessional. I think I thought I was like seeing what time it was. But I put my phone in my case, so I would just have to go down and press the button, and the screen would light up, and it was on my lock screen.
Oh, there you go.
I could just read what was next. So no, it wasn't as unprofessional as I remember.
He's looking at his phone every 5 minutes. What's going on?
His case is glowing every time he goes over and looks at it. So yeah, that was the hardest part, and then and working it in was easy compared to trying to remember each phrase. But it was really fun. I agree. Do try this game.
Do that. Here's my challenge to everybody listening to this. Do the Super Troopers game. Either put on Facebook or put a bunch of phrases down, or have somebody put a bunch of phrases down and try to work them in your show. It's hilarious. Well, it's hilarious to me. I don't know if it's hilarious to the audience.
No, they have no clue.
Yeah.
You can't tell them what you're doing before you start the show.
Of course.
You have to just go with it and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Some of them will be funny. You'll get a laugh out of one or two, and then others will just blank stares.
Yeah, the one guy in the back who put that phrase on Facebook, he's like, "Oh, that guy was hilarious."
Yeah. And what if they go to your social media after the show,
Yeah.
they're going to get a huge laugh after the show. So, hopefully some people will go look you up on Facebook or whatever after the show. And if they realize what was happening after the fact, the show continues for them.
It's the game that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Now you do lots of colleges, right?
I do. Yeah. That's the majority of my schedule. Yep.
Now, are there certain keys to performing for college age students?
I think the two things maybe pop to mind is doing great magic and being likable. I feel like that's across the board for pretty much any audience, but also being likable to that specific age group.
Yeah, I guess so. Because if you're at a senior's home, you're trying to please or be likable to that audience. If you're doing a college campus, you're being likable to that audience, right?
Yeah, and knowing what humor works and what humor doesn't, and what people are. If you go out into a college audience, and I'm married, I have a 3-year-old. If I start talking about the woes of marriage or whatever, and as jokes, they're gonna gloss over and be like, "Oh my God, this guy's so old." So I guess it's knowing what works for your audience.
Yeah. Now you do look young. Have you found, not for yourself, but just as you've been performing and traveling, have you found that age seems to be a difference with colleges?
There are a lot of young performers, and then in the college market, and then there's older guys and gals too, and I think you can make it work either way. But yeah, definitely there is a premium on youth performers in that market, because they like to they like to see people closer to their age on stage performing for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what is something that none of us know about performing at colleges?
That it may, if you ever follow like a college performer on social media, it's not as glamorous as everyone makes it out to be. You could be the famous nooner shows in the cafeteria, where you're basically on a stage in a corner and everyone's trying to eat, and you're supposed to do an hour show during lunchtime, and sometimes it goes great, and sometimes people are just kind of walking and walking through your show, and also getting up and having to go to class in the middle of your show, and doesn't have any reflection on whether they like your show or not. They just have to go to class.
So the first show you ever do for a cafeteria, they're walking out and you're wondering, what the heck's going on?
I don't actually remember the first show, but that happens. It happens all the time. You can't take it personally. After the first show, you kind of understand what the cafeteria show is about, and you got to accept it, I guess, and do your best. And sometimes, you get up on stage in one of these tough situations and there's nobody in the audience. There's literally people walking by. So then it feels like you turn into a street style show where you're just trying to get people to stop and watch your show. So it could be anything from that to being in the most beautiful theater you've ever seen. And, it's packed. There's the low lows and the high highs, but usually the truth is usually in between the majority, somewhere.
No, I don't know. I haven't done colleges. That's something I plan on doing at some point in time.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's cool or not. I'm a little nervous after talking to you.
But, if you go into it's just like, going into, I used to do a lot of birthday parties when I was younger, and you go into a really tough situation in a backyard with a bunch of screaming kids and parents talking in the back. And then all of a sudden at the end, midway through the show, everyone's zoned in on you listening, and everyone's quiet, and everyone starts laughing, and you're like, oh, and then you walk out feeling like, I got this. It doesn't always work out that way, but
yeah. I wonder if, back to the cafeteria, I wonder if street performing would really prepare you well for the cafeteria performance.
Yeah, I think it would. I've never done. Well, I've dabbled in street performing. I would never say I'm a street performer. I've tried it a few times. Hats off to those guys and gals, because that's tough work, like really hard work.
Right. Are you still doing a lot of corporate events?
Actually, I'm starting to do a little bit more and more lately. Ever since I started doing that Conjuring at the Colony show a few years ago, where It's in a hotel, and I put a suit on and everything and look nice. Ever since I started putting pictures of me in a suit on the internet, I've been getting more corporate gigs. So
As long as we're talking about Conjuring at the Colony, tell me more about that. How did that come about?
sure. I had a kid. That's how it came about. I wanted to be closer to home, and so you hear about all these other performers doing these hotel shows. I thought, why not in Maine? I live in a tourist trap, like right Kennebunkport area of Maine, and that brings in a ton of tourists every year in the summertime. I was thinking, how do I stay closer to home? What if I had a weekly show right by my house? So I started that up 3 years ago. The biggest problem was that it's seasonal because there's nobody here in the wintertime. So it just happens in the summertime.
Is that you, just you yourself, or are there a number of artists involved?
It's just me. It's just my show. Basically, I have a deal with the hotel, and they allow me to come in and present my show, and I take care of all the advertising and ticket sales and everything. And it was just kind of an attempt to stop traveling, because when you're doing colleges, the travel can be insane. I've performed in 49 out of 50 states in the U.S. and
Wow.
and it just gets it wears on you, and when you have a family at home, you just start thinking, wow, it'd be so nice to just work at that coffee shop down the road every day between 9 and 5 and then come home afterwards. I'm still have other plans. I want to make a year-round show with that and move it to a different hotel and stuff, but there's a lot of work that needs to go into that still.
Yeah, there you go. Then you can cover all the seasons.
Yeah. And also that has actually been good for corporate work, because I've had people inquire about my show. Not sure if they wanted to book me, but then they came to the Conjuring at the Colony. They bought tickets and they did their homework, so to speak, and then they liked the show and booked it for their corporate event.
The advertising has a corporate look to it.
Yeah, I wanted it to be an upscale, sophisticated thing that adults would be more likely to come out to. It's in the Colony Hotel, which is an old historic hotel. It's a beautiful hotel right on the water, overlooking the ocean, and it's just a fantastic setting. It's in this old ballroom with chandeliers and beautiful drapes and whatnot.
And if somebody's in Maine, where can they get tickets?
Hey, thanks for the plug. Go to petermagician.com and you get tickets right on there.
Now, what is summoning spirits?
It is a satanic ritual. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, wait. Okay. There's this place. I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's this place that I went for Father's Day just yesterday. Medieval Times. It's in Buena Park. It's by Disneyland. You get a little ticket, and on your little ticket, there is a table number. And there were 3 of us that went, and we got table number 6. So we got 3 little table holders with the numbers 666 on them, and they were bright red.
That's great.
So I have a picture of it. I'll post that on Facebook so you can see it.
Nice.
All right, so back to summoning spirits. I'm sorry. What is it really?
Oh, summoning spirits. So I've always been fascinated with kind of seance magic, ghost magic, bizarre magic. And I've always had a ghost routine in my show since I started colleges. I always loved the way that you can weave a story into an effect, and also that weird space you're in with ghosts, because some people believe, some people don't. So it's just, and even if you don't, you're still really freaked out about it. It's just brings up a lot of feelings in people. It's a really a potent presentational weapon. So I've always been fascinated with it. And in the back of my head for years and years, I was thinking, wow, that'd be so cool to have a whole show just based around ghost stories. About 3 years ago, I came to kind of a creative standstill, and I was thinking of what I should do, and I just decided to create the show. So I took 8 months and I stopped doing. I mean, I still went out and did gigs, but I really stopped doing anything else. I'd take an hour or two every day and do my emails and keep up on business, but I wasn't stretching myself business wise. The rest of the day, every waking hour was just devoted to writing this show, this ghost themed show. And I gathered ghost stories from around Maine and New England. I live in Maine, obviously, and around New England, kind of bring them alive on stage. So I read these ghost stories about places in New England, and I'd figure out a way to tell them on stage, maybe embellish them a little bit, alter them slightly, and then figure out what type of phenomenon or effect that would go well with this. I would go to these places, and I would film video of these places, and I show that video in the show as kind of with voiceovers and stuff, so it kind of people can see where I'm talking about when I'm telling these stories. So it's I guess it's definitely a bizarre show because it's very heavy storytelling. I tell these stories and then crazy things happen, and people sometimes scream and run out of the theater. So it's a great time.
That sounds haunting and great.
It's such a departure from my other show, Magician for Non-Believers, which is comedy magic. There's a lot of original magic and whatever in there, but still it's, a comedy magic show. When you tell people about, I have a show called Summoning Spirits, they just kind of like their eyes widen, like, tell me more. What is that? And it's such a unique offering. People are automatically drawn into what you're doing with it.
Yeah, I love the idea that you took real stories or stories that you've heard that are real and put them on stage in your act.
Yeah, I love the idea of taking a quote unquote real ghost story, especially when I perform in New England. For example, I tell a story about this place, Dungeon Rock in Lynn, Massachusetts. It's on the North Shore of Boston. And I would perform, around the Boston area, and I would tell this ghost story about Dungeon Rock. And then literally after the show, students would get in their cars and drive to Dungeon Rock in the middle of the night with flashlights looking for this place. And then they would tell me afterwards, so, and even if they don't go that night, maybe they'll go, a month from now, a year from now, or they'll just stumble upon it later. And then they're going to remember me. They're going to remember, oh my God, this is the place he was talking about in the show. Yeah. You can actually go to these places that are talked about in the show.
Oh man, if you could get them to play the Super Troopers game, they'd be going on Facebook looking you up. They'd be going back to the place that you told a story about.
Yeah, I love creating the show after the show, whether it's the Super Trooper games or being able to visit a haunted spot. I think it's cool that there's some sort of interaction after you get off stage.
Now, Summoning Spirits also kind of got you on Penn and Teller, right?
Yeah, this was before I created Summoning Spirits. That was the chalkboard in PK Touch routine is the Dungeon Rock story. They actually pretty much cut most of the story on Fool Us. That's the routine I've been doing in my show since the beginning, and that's really kind of what got me hooked and inspired to do the Summoning Spirit show.
Well, real quick, tell us about the Penn and Teller experience.
Oh, that was amazing. I was only on there really because of my friend Norman Ing, another now semi-retired magician. He was accepted onto Penn and Teller Fool Us, and he's like, hey man, you should totally submit a video. They're looking for more people. And I was like, I don't know. You just put up your excuses and you put up all these mental blocks about why you shouldn't do it. But in the end, I was just like, what the heck? What are they going to say? No. Yeah. I'm already at no. So I sent in a video of that and a couple other things, and they liked that. And it was weird. You spend your whole life or your whole career trying to get on TV, and I send a video, and within like a couple days, I'm on TV. It was surreal that how quick it happened. I didn't have to convince them. I didn't have to beg. It just happened. And I wish it was easy like that all the time, because I'd be on TV again since then. But
exactly, I wish it was all the time that easy. Yeah,
you just send a video and they say yeah.
I wish booking shows was that easy.
I've never done AGT. I've thought about it, but I'm sure you've seen how they've treated some performers in the past. So you're kind of playing with fire going on there. You might be the fall guy. You might be the hero of an episode.
And God forbid you mess up something.
I know people that have screwed up on Fool Us, and they're just so nice and generous. They want to make you look good. That's one of the reasons why I was so comfortable trying to get on there too, is because I know they want to make a good show. I listened to Penn's podcast, Penn Sunday School, and he talked about it all the time. We want to make you look good.
Right.
We want to be a good show. We're not out to get magicians, and it shows. The proof is in the pudding. They make everybody look great, or the best they can look, and
it's true. They do make people look good.
Yeah, and they want to put out a good show. They don't want to screw anybody over. And so that made me feel real comfortable. And after I did it, a lot of performer friends that went on the next season came to me and, asked me my opinion. I always said, yeah, they really want to make you look good. So it's not a worry about them trying to get you. They're going to make you look the best you can look.
Do you think that there are acts that go on that they don't show?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there have been a few in the past.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. What is Impression Vanish?
Impression Vanish is a magic trick that I made.
Yes.
It is a complete and total vanish of a borrowed penny. Super clean, super practical. You can burn the hands. You can burn the paper. So you borrow a penny. You put it on the table. You have a little 3x3 little piece of paper, and you say you're going to make an image of Abraham Lincoln disappear. And so you borrow an image of Abraham Lincoln, which is a penny, and you put it on the table. You put the paper over it, and you take a pencil, and you make a kind of a rubbing impression with the pencil into the paper. And you take a little bit of water, and you smudge the image of Abraham Lincoln on the paper, and the image disappears. You've done what you've done, and then when the image disappears, you snap your fingers, you pick up the paper, and the penny has completely vanished.
It's on video, and it's a beautiful trick. It looks great.
I appreciate it.
Tell us, do you have a horror story for us? Maybe a college performing horror story or any sort of performing horror story for us?
Probably my first horror story was when I was a teenager going out for some gigs, and this was pre-GPS for me. I got completely lost on the way to a library gig. 45 minutes late, completely late. This was before cell phones too. I didn't have a cell phone at this time. This was actually the gig that made me get a cell phone afterwards.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going out. And so I show up and nobody's there. She said, yeah, everyone was here, but they left. Obviously, I didn't get paid. I didn't do a show, and I felt terrible.
Man.
From then on, I made it my mission never to be late to a gig again.
I think that's happened to all of us once. I was driving to a library show of all things in San Diego. And if you know the layout of Los Angeles to San Diego, there's only one highway to go on, period. All of a sudden, all the traffic stops. And I stop, and I had planned this whole thing where I'd go to the library, do the show, and I took my family with me so we'd go see a different show, some sort of I don't know, some show. Yeah, the freeway was stopped, and we didn't know what was going on. It was stopped for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. We're looking around. People are getting out of their cars on the freeway because it's completely stopped. There was a Coca-Cola truck near us, and he was giving out free Cokes to everybody because we were just sitting there in the heat in the middle of the summer. And so we find out somebody had held up a bank and tried to get away and hopped on the freeway just about a mile ahead of us. And so the cops had blocked off the entire freeway right about a mile ahead of us. And so we were stopped for literally 5 or 6 hours.
Oh my God.
I didn't get to the show.
That is a terrible feeling.
So do you have another horror story for us?
Oh, here's one.
Okay,
Go watch that video, my vlog with my first performance. That'll be
there you go.
My horror story right there.
Okay. Everybody's got to go listen. It's vlog 4?
Yeah.
I think. Okay.
There's not many of them, so you'll find it.
All right. How about some advice for the beginner or the pro?
This is something I think I regret when I started out. I was so concerned about making money performing magic that I didn't take every opportunity I had when I was younger. And I didn't create opportunities for myself to perform, because I think the more you perform, the better you get, the faster you get better. Take every opportunity you have to perform, regardless of what type of money is being offered, especially not if you're a pro, but when you're young trying to get stage time.
Yeah.
Just get out there and do it. Just do free shows. I always sought out business opportunities rather than performance opportunities. And it's something I regret, because I think I could have gotten a lot better a lot quicker and had a lot more experience earlier on if I was a little more aggressive. Pro advice.
Yeah.
Well, when you're a pro, it's all about the money.
It's all about the money, my friend.
Yeah, you have to have a great show. You have to have a show. If people are rebooking you, then you've got a great show. I think if people see your show and want you back, I think you can't really ask for more than that.
Do you have a recommended book for us?
Yeah, probably one of the couple best books I had that influenced my performing and thinking, because I think it's really important to be a deep thinker when it comes to performance and trying to get the best performance you have, whether it's a comedy performance or whether it's a creepy ghost story. These two books influenced me huge amount. Their theory books are Magic by Maskelyne and Devant. It's an old one. It might be tough to get through sometimes, but I think the ideas in there are classic. They never age. It's kind of like the follow-up to that is C.H. Sharp's Neo-Magical Artistry, where he kind of took over kind of the thought process after our magic and kind of took it to the next level.
Now, one last thing, and I'll let you go. I think you know this guy, Rob Balchunas.
Yes, I do know Rob.
Yes, you do. We're going to go to fan questions. You have a fan.
Yes, I love you, Rob.
And he asks a few questions, actually. Rob Balchunas, famously known as Rob the Balloon Guy. He asks, when is Monday Club coming back? Please, what is that?
Oh, thanks, Rob. Monday Club is a podcast me and my buddy Gus Davis did. We did it for about a year. Actually, exactly a year. I think there's 52 or 53 weekly episodes. It's still up. You can check it out. It started. Now I have to go back because it's the second version of Monday Club. The first version was with me and my best friend from teenage years, Norman Ing. He was a full-time magician. Now he's doing other things. But whenever we could hang out together, it was always on a Monday, right? Because we're gigging on the weekends.
Right.
It's an industry thing. We're always out, partying on Monday, and we realized Mondays are the best time to be out. You don't have to wait for drinks. The bars aren't crowded. You get the best deals on drinks. The town is yours for the taking, essentially.
Yeah.
We kind of coined the term Monday Club, and then we always found ourselves going out on Monday nights. And years later, we're like, well, what if we put this into a podcast? And so we did like 10 episodes, and then it folded. And then I was like, oh, Gus could be part of Monday Club. So we started up Monday Club with me and Gus, and it was a fantastic run.
All right, last question. Rob asks, this is kind of interesting. What's the average of theaters versus small cafeterias for college shows?
Those are the two extremes. I would say most of the college shows are done in some sort of multi-purpose room, like a ballroom or the stage. Sometimes they're done in lecture halls. If you're doing a community colleges and tech colleges will have a lot of afternoon shows because it's non-traditional students. There's not a lot of people living on campus, if anybody. So they're on campus all day and they're home at night. A lot of students have families as well, so they have to be home at night. So I would say I probably do less than 10% cafeteria shows.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since I started doing summoning spirits, this number has grown because I require some tech. So I've been in theaters more and more because of summoning spirits. And so I'd say 35% theaters, and then the rest are kind of multi-purpose rooms or interesting spots in the student center where there's a stage and it's kind of a multi-purpose room.
Excellent. Well, thanks for doing my show, Peter. This was fun.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. I really appreciate it.
And do you have any social media or anything you want to promote before I let you go?
Sure. You can petermagician.com for everything me. Everything goes out from there, but I'm on social media at Peter Boie, PeterBoie. Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me there.
And thanks to all my variety artists. If you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through Facebook message me, and go out and book those gigs and make some money and have some fun.
That's all for this episode of The Variety Artist, but your journey continues on our website. Go to thevarietyartist.com for more strategies, insight, and resources, as well as show notes on today's guest to assist you in your career. We'll see you on the next episode of The Variety Artist. But until then, go out and book those gigs, make some money, and have some fun.